Hey guys, in this video we're going to explore Vue.js testing, and we're going to make a small components and we're going to make a test for the components. We're going to use two ways of testing. One is going to be the unit test for the functionality of our components, and then we're going to use end-to-end testing for the user experience, testing of the user experience of our components. And what we're going to use, a methodology, or we're going to use a way of testing which is called a TDD, which means testing driven development. What's that mean is, in the simple words, is that first of all we write the test, and then we write the minimum code that our test has passed, and then we continue writing the test and then creating the code. Why we should do this? Well, we don't need to do this, but that's one of the ways that we can create it. And if you write tests in your work, you know that first of all, well, most of the time, if you're not using TDD, you write your code, and in the end, if you're not lazy enough, you write your tests, and you know that could be a nightmare. Okay, and exactly for this we're going to explore this way of testing the stuff. Start from the test and then write the code. You see that's make you sure that you write the test before that you write any test before this. Okay, the disclaimer of this video is that by any means I'm an expert of testing and I'm still learning, but I guess that you're learning as well if you're here and you're watching this video. If that's not the case, feel free that you can leave the comments down in the description, down in the comments, and you can help us to get this proof and get this better. Okay, what we try to do today is that we try to make a very simple component, and we try to make a very simple test for these components. Okay, the idea is that we create just input box with one button, and the idea is that once when we write the text inside in the input with the button, we want to clean the input. Okay, but again, we start first writing the test, and then continuously we start to write the code that we need for pass the test. Means that like this we create our component. Okay, for the purpose we're going to use a Vue CLI. Okay, and with the Vue CLI we can create the project very easy, and we can choose as well which frameworks we want to use for testing purposes. Like I said, in our case we're going to use the end-to-end testing with the Cypress. Okay, like I said, the end-to-end testing is just very similar, like the user is going to see our application. Okay, actually Cypress is opening a Chromium browser, and it's doing the steps that one normal human being user is going to do in your application. And then the unit test we're going to use we're going to use just like the framework, and as well we use the Vue test utils. Okay, actually we're going to use more the Vue test utils. Okay, while we have to do the two of these tests, we don't need to do the two tests. Okay, but the idea is that one is a more general and the other one is testing just the functionality of our component. Okay, but actually let's go to start with the example, and you see exactly what I mean by all these words. Okay, and again guys, I'm not the expert, I'm not testing expert, I'm learning as well, so I hope so that everything is going good. Okay, and again, take everything from here with a grain of salt. Okay, so let's continue by creating application. I'm in my Vue.js directory, and well, in my Vue.js directory I'm in one directory that I'm using for creating a Vue.js application and testing application. And using a CLI, you can say Vue create, and then you put the name of your application, TDD Vue component. Okay, that's going to be the name. We press enter, and it's going to ask you that you want to choose do you want manually or you want automatically. Let's install everything for you. It's taking a little bit time. There we go. So default, it's going to do the install bubble for you and ESLint lint. Okay, but we want the manual because we want to choose the testing frameworks that we're going to use. If you press enter, we leave this as it is, and you can navigate with the arrow keys. With the space you can select what you exactly want it and what you don't want it. Okay, so we say that we want the unit test here and end-to-end test as well, and you press enter. Now it's going to ask you for the unit test which framework you want to use. Solution, we choose just like I said, and then Cypress, it's good for our end-to-end test, so we just press enter. We don't want in dedicate file, we just can do this in the package.json. Press enter, and then if you want to save the configuration, in my case I don't want to save it. If you want to save it, you just have to press Y and then enter, and it's going to save for you. Okay, so first of all, well, now when the application is going to be created, that's going to take a little while because the Cypress is it's a little bit more bigger. First of all, in our application, the test application that we have a folder structure already done for us, which is the folder structure. You see that we have a folder with the name test, and under this we have the end-to-end tests and unit tests. Okay, so we have as well examples, example.js there for testing, so we can use the example to write our own tests. Okay, first thing what we can do as well is that we're going to clean a little bit our application that we just create now. What I mean by that is that we just go in the app.js and we clean the boilerplate that is coming, the hello world component that is coming, and the style that we don't going to need it. Okay, we just create our component for this. Okay, but like I said, first of all we start with the test. We get the test failed, and when the test is failed, from there we start to create one by one the things that we need that the test is passing. Okay, you see that, well, actually I'm going to leave down in the description, there is a very good source for this that you can learn how to do the Vue.js TDD, test driven development, and as well there is a sources that I get expired from there, so I'll leave it down in the description. Okay, I think that we're going to be ready in a second. Okay, that's done. When that's done, we just cd into TDD, view component. Okay, and we open it with the code editor. Okay, in my case I'm going to use the Visual Studio Code. In your case you can use any code editor that you prefer. I use a code of Visual Studio Code, and I use the terminal of the Visual Studio Code, so we can remove this one, we don't need it. Okay, so like I said, let's go to clean a little bit around here. We go in our app.view. We don't want the logo, we don't want the hello world. Actually, let's go to do something. Let's go to remove the logo, and let's go to leave the hello world for the moment, and let's go to replace with our component. So with the Control D, we select the same word, and we can change with the text input. I know that is not very original, but like I said, it's going to be very easy and simple component. Okay, so now we don't have this this file here, so we have to create it. We don't have this component, so we have to create it. Let's go in our component and say a new file, and here we say the text input dot view. Okay, and here we can create a simple Vue.js structure, typing view and then press type, press tab, and we get some boilerplate. Here we just put the div because we want some wrapper, and then we just save all this. Let's go back in app, and like I said, probably we don't need any style, so we can get rid of the style here. Let's go to save it, and I think that, well, hello world we can remove as well. There we go. And I think that we should be fine working with what we have here. Actually, there is a message prop there. We don't want any prop here. It's going to be, like I said, just simple component without so much stuff. And then let's go in the package.json and see first about what we have there. There we go. So as you can see that we have this test unit. Okay, so that's going to execute our unit tests, in which you can find under test folder, test directory, and under units, and then the example dot space. Well, now for the moment we just have one, but the all that you have here, they're going to be execute once when you run npm run test unit or yarn test unit. Okay, and down there you can see the end-to-end test that we have, and the command is going to be again npm run test e to e or yarn test e to e. Okay, and that's going to execute the test that we have in our e to e folder. Okay, and as you can see that we have here one test.js. Let's go to rename it, and let's go to say that that's going to be a text. Okay, and then input. Okay, text input test, and that's the end-to-end test that we're going to create it. And if we go inside, you see that we have already some boilerplate here. Okay, so let's go to ignore this one and think about it, what we want. Obviously we want a text input. Okay, input. Then what we want as well is that we want to type some text. Okay, text, and then what we want is that we want a button to clear the text. Okay, that's cool. Now in the description here in the script, where we start actually our test, what we can say is that everything that we want to do is that, I don't know, for the naming I'm not very good today, but let's go to say clear text input. Okay, and here you can see that the name before was visit the upload URL. From this we can check that the components is rendering correctly. Okay, but in our case we go directly in our test, so here we say text input. Okay, or just you can put any name here, you can be more specific. Obviously it's a good idea if you're more specific, because probably you have more test cases inside in your script. Okay, but in my case today, like I say, I'm not very creative, so just text input here should be fine. The first step here is going to be the CI visit, which is a Cypress visit the root, and in our root for the moment we don't have nothing. And then the second step, what we want to say is the get the input. Okay, so the input box, and let's go on to say that we have, imagine that you have a text input. Okay, and save it. Let's go on to use, like I said, that's the command that we can run the test e to e. Let's go to see what's happening. Yarn, and then we put here. So now this one is going to open it for us, like I said, a Chromium browser. That's the open source part of the Chrome, and it's using for the dev tools and all the stuff that we can use inside. And well, actually you can make some settings for Cypress, and you can use as well the Electron. Like Electron is like the web, or to create web applications with web application, desktop application with JavaScript, or you can use Firefox if you put in the settings. Now here we have just Chrome and Electron, I guess. we just leave it in Chrome for the moment. That should be fine. And here you can select the test that we want to run. In our case, it's going to be the text input. Okay, and as you can see, it's opening for us the browser window and executing the tests. So first of all, we visit, and that's everything is fine. Then let's try to get the text input, but we don't have any text input. Okay, so what we can do is, like I said, first of all, we want that our test is failure. Once when it's failed, we go in and we're going to create the code that we need, the minimum code that we need. We say that we create the component here, and we say well, this input is going to be text input. Okay, and for the moment we don't need the name and the ID, but obviously you have to leave it if you want to be a semantic. We just want a class with the text input, and if you remember, this one was this one was the class that we just put in our test. Okay, so we just save it. What we can do is that we can rerun the test again, and now you see that it's passed because we have the input over there. Okay, let's go to type something in our input, because obviously we want to type some text. So we go here and you just say type, we say, I don't know, test text. Okay, let's press enter. Let's see what's happening here. There we go, that's typing for us. Okay, and now again we want a button. Okay, so we say ci, then get, and then we say the class is going to be the select. It's same like the CSS selector btn. Okay, you have a different kind of selectors that you can use with the Cypress, but you can read the documentation and you can get more information from there. Okay, so we want the button, and we want to click as well the button. Once when we have it, click. Obviously first it's going to tell us that we don't have a button. Okay, so we execute this and then click. Let's save it. Let's see what's happening when the test is running again. Obviously it's telling us that we don't have a button on yet. Okay, so we go here and we're going to create our button. So we say, for example, with the class of btn. Okay, and then some text inside, sorry. Let's go to see what's happening now. If we rerun the test, there we go. Yeah, we have a button and the button was clicked. Okay, you can see the steps just here in your window. Okay, so now is coming the part that we want, our selector, which is the text input. We want our selector to have value of empty string. Okay, we want to clean this one. We want to clear when we click. Okay, so it means that if we go in the test, we select the input here. Okay, that's the input. Then we select the button, we click the button. Now we want, once when we click the button, we want that this should okay, and here the syntax is have dot value, and have value we want to be equal to empty string. Okay, so let's go to save this and see what's happening. If we rerun the test, it's rerunning automatically, and I say that expecting that our input have a value of empty string, but it's having a text. Okay, that's the text that we just write here. Okay, so it means that's not correct when we click the button. Obviously it's not correct because we don't have the function here. Okay, now we're going to create the function, but we're going to create in the same way that we work here. So we first write the test, and then we're going to execute, and then we're going to work in our component. Okay, so if you remember, the tests which are best for more functionality part of our code. That's the unit test here, and we have an example test already done for us. Let's go to say that we want to rename it and say that that's a text dot oh, not dot, actually, you know what, no, we call it again text input, sorry, but again text, stupid and simple, right? Text input, and we have our test. Okay, so if we go in our test here, again, you have some boilerplate here, and that's coming with the example. Okay, we can reuse, for example, the component, which is charging, where we just import the component here, and then from the test utils, we have a shallow mount, means that we're going to bring this component here, we're going to use it. Okay, you see how this can happening. Let's go to select actually this and change everywhere with what was it, text input. Okay, that's a text input. That's going to stop the test from here, because the next step is going to be unit test, not the end-to-end test. Okay, and then we go back for the end-to-end test. Okay, what we want is we want to bring the wrapper, which is going to be all the component. Okay, we want to bring it outside so we can use it in different cases. Props, we don't have any props. If you remember, there was a message prop, but we don't want any props. We just want to mount the text input here. Okay, that should be fine. And the first case, we want to testing that first of all we have the HTML. So there is, let's go to say there is render the HTML. Okay, let's say the HTML, and here let's go to leave this one, and let's go to remove that part here. So we say the wrapper, and then we have to found. I'm just going the next line, so find, and then we want to find again here we do by selecting by class. It's very simple than CSS selector, text, and then we say input. Okay, we want to found it, and we want to set some value here, so we can set again a new message or test message or whatever you want to set here. So we set value. Okay, and here in set value we say test text. Okay, and for the moment let's go on to select as well our button wrapper, and again we say in next line we say find, and the selector is btn. Okay, and then we can trigger a click. Okay, we can trigger a click here. Okay, yeah, that should be fine just to test our HTML. Let's go to remove this line here and see that it's rendering correctly. In this case here it's going to be unit. Okay, press enter and see what's happening here. We passed the both test. It's rendering the HTML, it's passing without any problem. Okay, let's go to copy this here, and now let's go in the real stuff. What we want to do now is that we want to clear, once when you click the button, that's the functionality of our component, we want to clear the input here. Okay, so let's go to say clear the input value. Okay, so we want to clear the input value here. Again, this one is going to be obviously, first of all, we found the button. We don't want this part here, so we can remove it from here. Then we're going to trigger a click, okay, and then we expect once when that's done, we expect, let's go to separ a little bit like this, and then we say a wrapper, and then find, and then we say the input text, well, the text input class, the text input class, we expect the element value, we expected the element value it's to be empty, okay, so that's the element value, and here we say to be empty string, okay. So now obviously that's going to fail, okay. So why it's going to fail? Because it's not empty, because the first test we set the value, so we tested our input is working actually, and the second test we click the button and we expect that that's going to bring us an empty value, but it's not going to bring us an empty value because obviously obviously we have a value here. So let's go to see how this works. And yep, as you can see here, it's our test is failed, and you see that they expected as an empty string and receive a test text, okay. So that's not exactly what we want to do. So what we can do is that we go here, we say, for example, we create a click event, and this click event we say clear value, okay, and this clear value we're going to create in the methods. But first of all, obviously we have to create here the v model, which is going to be responsible for our text value, okay, and that's the initial state of this is going to be it's going to be an empty string, okay. So here we just say a return, okay, and we say this one it's going to be an empty string, okay. So now under the date we create our method, okay, and we say that for our method we want this one. So what we want is the once when we click and we execute this method, very simple, we're going to do this. I guess that you know what I'm trying to do here. Text value it's equal to empty string, okay, and that's going to demonstrate that our code is working with our with the test that we made here, okay. So let's go to save it, and let's go to rerun again and see what's happening. And that's it. As you can see that clear the input value it's passing, okay. So I hope so that you get some idea. And again, like I said, that's a simple example, and it's by no means the only way that you can do this stuff. If you read the documentation of Cypress, and if you read the documentation of Vue test utils, you see that it's quite big and with many information there, okay. But I just want to show you the simple idea of writing your test first before you start writing your code, okay. Obviously that's simple and small, and if you have some more big functionality, it's going to be much more work than this, okay. But let's make sure that you write tests and you don't leave it in the end, because we all know that sometimes when we're leaving the test for the end, we just don't do it, and in the end we can finish with the code which is not very optimized, okay. Obviously if you do your own project, probably you're not worried for this kind of stuff, but if it's a project with many developers and people which coming after you, it's a good idea if you have your tests here, okay. Guys, thanks a lot. Well, actually we are 1,000 subscribers now. I get 1,000 subscribers. I'm so happy that you enjoy the videos, and I love you guys, and you're the best. You're just the best, and I'm planning some new stuff in the future, and I'm planning that we can do some collaborative projects with you guys. But well, I'm a little bit busy working now. But anyway, time's coming for everything. Thank you guys. Subscribe and like the video if you like it. We see you in the next video. Bye.